Hey guys, I am sorry about any background soaring noises that come up, and I'm pretty sure they will come up, but we are having work done on the house. There it is. And nothing's going to stop me from sharing this today, so please bear with me, and yeah, we're going to get into a juicy one anyway. So the past couple weeks have been incredibly exciting because I've been doing my inner work for a long while. Technically, I've been doing it for 15 years. I have been going incredibly deep into it in the past 9 months, 10 months, next level deep. And I've been clearing a lot out, and I've been getting to the point where a lot has been clearing, but not much has been changing. And I could never really figure this out. And it's really exciting, this new phase that I've moved into, because it is a complete paradigm shift, and it's forced me to acknowledge that I have grown more than I thought I had. And so this video is about, if you are trying everything, you are doing all your inner work, you are growing and sorting everything out within you, but something's still not clicking, then this video is for you, because honey, you've just moved into a completely new phase, and I love this for you because this next phase is a heck of a lot easier. It's more about just releasing, and honestly, it's easier than it sounds, because a lot of the times when we are going down this healing road, one of the key things you have to adopt is this sense of the first line of defense, the first line of growth is, what is wrong with me? And I don't mean that in a, oh, what's wrong with me, like victim state. I mean, what's wrong with me as in, how am I contributing to the problem, and what can I change to get myself out or make this better? And that's super empowering, and that literally is the cornerstone of how you start your journey. And as I said, that carried me through like 15 years. So it's always been my first line of defense, and even as I've been doing this really deep work this year, it's also been super helpful. However, there comes a point where you start to realize that it's not you. And that was a really weird thing for me to embody and understand and take on, because I very much have a savior complex and a rescue complex. So I'm always wanting to fix and help other people, to the point where it doesn't matter how I feel, what I do, as long as I'm helping other people, I'm doing the right thing. But it was completely draining me, and I had a lot of blind spots with that. And there comes a point where you need to understand that it's no longer you. You are picking up on other people's dynamics. And I found this so interesting. This is honestly life-changing for me, because I never thought that I would be literally taking on people's thoughts and feelings as if they were my own. Not just a sense of, oh, it's distressing to be around a distressing person. You are literally wearing their emotions, and you just end up really confused. And so basically what happens is, you're picking up and absorbing their emotions and thoughts. You think they're yours. You take ownership. But no matter how hard you try and work on this, no matter how hard you try and understand this, you're still just as perplexed as, because you just can't get to the root of it. And asking that question of, going down your normal digging roots of what's wrong with me has usually just sussed everything out. But now you're getting to a point where it's like, I'm doing everything that I usually do, but nothing's changing, nothing's shifting. And the big difference for me was, I went on holiday, and when we're on holiday, we're often in a lot more of a surrender mode. We have to release a lot of our safety mechanisms, especially if we go away on our own, which is why a lot of people find growth when they travel on their own. It exposes their attachments and their dependencies if they haven't been aware of it before. And so I went away and I found I was expecting to kind of be really scared, and it's one of the first times where I've kind of been away on my own, and I thought I would kind of plummet. It was the opposite. I was so radiant, I was so trusting, I was so magnetic, I was so connected, and I was like, what the hell is happening? Because as soon as I hadn't even gone home yet, but I got in contact with certain people, and all of a sudden everything just dragged me down again. I hadn't even left the environment, and it was because I was plugging into a certain relationship and without knowing was taking on their emotions and thoughts and responsibilities. And I didn't notice this at the time, but I was left with the sense of, how am I my most radiant and best self when I'm on my own in a foreign country where I have no clue what I'm doing, don't really know the people around me, but somehow I'm in my best life. And then as soon as I get back to any kind of connection with my normal life, everything comes crashing down, but nothing has actually changed. They hadn't actually said anything that's triggering. I'm not technically triggered, but life just feels hard again. And honey, it's because it's not you. That helps you realize that all your inner work has paid off. When you were left in a pure blank slate place, say like going on holiday, just that's your blank slate, you're radiant, you're your best self, you're who you want to be. You see how you can grow from there, how there are no attachments there. You can see your whole future pan out. There are no big obstacles that you feel like you can't overcome. And that's because that's the you that you've been working on. That is the real you, and you are actually pretty much healed. Like if you're not there, you're like nearly there, to the point where you don't even have to think about it anymore. And so it's just, you're now picking up on other people's stuff. So that's a really good sign of knowing whether you're in that place, is whether when you're spending time on your own, when you're in meditation, when you're with like-minded people, when you're on holiday, you seem to just have everything under control and life is easy and life is like the best thing ever. But then as soon as you get back with certain people or a certain place, might even be your home, for me that is the case, which is why it's super confusing, because usually you spend so much time there. But yeah, as soon as you come back, and it takes like a little blip, like going on holiday, to realize, holy shit, this is who I really am, which is why also some other people get really stressed, because it's exposing who they really are, and that's showing them all the areas that they need to work on. So that's the first clear sign that you need to change your paradigm. You are no longer in that, what am I doing wrong? You have grown past that. Honey, you have healed so much in yourself, in your space, that the problem is no longer with you. You now need to just accept that people are separate from you. The other thing is, if you start picking up immediate feelings or thoughts as soon as you're in a certain room or with certain people. So I had a really interesting thing. My family moved to this house. I moved with them because I had just taken a big leap. Another part of the story. But I had basically moved with my parents to a place where I thought I'd move out pretty soon afterwards. So I wasn't really involved in the whole process. And long story short, I hated it. It's so not me. The environment, I mean, I love the nature around, but what's available around, the situation of the situ of the house itself, like even though the decor is like quite cold and it's like a summer house, but we live in the UK, and yeah, just it really doesn't vibe with me in so many ways. And even the way they built stuff, the people before us, just doesn't make sense. like some things just aren't properly thought through. And I was like, how do you miss that? And so it's just getting really judgy, and it put me in a really, like, one of the worst places of my life. It transported me right back there. And for a long while I thought it was just the place I was in. I hadn't long since my body had brought up suppressed trauma. I was dealing with that. I was dealing with a huge amount of change, moving for the first time in my life. I quit my job without really knowing why, and also without knowing the future. And for me, that scared the hell out of me. I'm usually very regimented and need everything like really planned, especially around money and anything survival based. My brother had moved out and we are incredibly close, so that was like something being ripped out of me. And so I just had so much going on, and I thought, it's me, I just need to work through it. And just like the heaviness of the house as well. My parents also thought I was kind of projecting that. They're kind of going, oh, it's just a big change, that's why the house feels yucky to you. And then there was one day where it was kind of end of spring into summer, so the weather was nice, and I got into a habit of I would go outside and ground. I would like just put my feet in the grass, or I'd just sit outside because it was lovely. And at this one point where I had grown and settled and worked through enough, where I was outside and I'd found me again. You know, I felt peaceful, I didn't feel stressed. I was like, okay, I found me. And so after that, I went inside to, I guess, just, I don't know, do whatever. The second I stepped into the kitchen, huge amount of thoughts and feelings came onto me. And it wasn't like a visual cue. I hadn't really looked at anything. I literally just stepped inside. And going from, I think I had just about had enough air and concreteness in that I found me space from when I was sitting outside, that it completely illuminated to me that it was whatever was in the room. And honestly, guys, I know this sounds woo-woo. I'm very much a practical person in nature, so I didn't know this stuff existed. But this is why people say that environment is so, so, so important, because you're picking up on stuff and you don't even know it. And I was like, holy shit, like, it's not me, it's the room. And so I've been toying with this idea of trying Palo Santo. Again, not something I ever would have thought of trying. And also my parents didn't really know I was starting to get a bit more like in the energetic realms of healing. You know, more like the psychological stuff. And so I feared a lot of judgment, and that was kind of a clear sign of, okay, just try it. Doesn't matter if it's cuckoo. Okay, you're gonna have a certain smell. I didn't know what Palo Santo smelled like. I was like, you're just gonna have a lingering smell and then that's it. And okay, your parents might think you're temporarily crazy, but you're also going through a tough time. So worst comes to worst, they just put it down to, okay, she just didn't cope well with the move, or she tried something else, whatever it was. I was like, we're just gonna do it. And the funny thing was that my parents, who were even more stuck in that place of pragmatism than I was, I did the Palo Santo, and not only did I feel like in one room I was literally crying, and that again like surprised me, and I could tell it was something else that was moving through me, because I was fine, like it wasn't making me emotional. And also my parents were saying that certain rooms, they were like, subconsciously I like didn't want to go into that room. It was like a corner room at the back of the house, and now they're like, I'm fine walking in it. So even though they are so pragmatic, they felt a difference too. And so I'm telling you that there's something else lower level like going on. It's not you've moved past the point of psychological healing, and now you are in this more felt sense. That's where your healing has taken you. It's no choice. That's basically the process of getting to know your body better, getting to know your other senses better, which is glorious, by the way. You have so much more power and information from those senses in that place. So it's an amazing thing, and it's going to serve you so well. But from that space, that space that you didn't know existed, that's the place where you take on things in your environment. And so it's really, really important to make sure that your environment reflects you, and also to ask yourself, is this me? Is this mine? Or is this someone else's? So a really great practice you can do at any point is I will shut my eyes. I will call on that meditative space, that kind of, I will find me again, that feeling of me, that feeling of how I feel when I'm alone in a room, calm and quiet. I will, even if it's a small part and there's a lot of other emotions going on and I'm in the middle of something, I will find that small part and I will ask that part, is this mine? The other thing I will do is please give any energy I have taken from other people, please give it back to them. And I will imagine that happening, or imagine it leaving my body, and vice versa. Anything that people are taking from me, I draw it back to me. It's no longer theirs. I consciously drag it in. And oh my God, this is so powerful. Like, first time I was doing this, especially the sense of give people their power back, I would feel like a huge tension or lift or sensation in my chest or my womb or my back or my head. It makes a huge difference. Just please try it a couple times if you don't feel it initially. And it's really interesting to know, because we don't realize when we're taking other people's energy too, and that's a huge boundary cross for other people that we're inflicting. And again, it's not malicious. We don't know we're doing it. Other people don't know that they're doing it to us. It's because we're so unaware and disconnected from that energy plane that senses a lot more than our minds do. We don't actually know what's going on, so it's kind of running around doing whatever and not in line with our intentions. But now that you've got to the next stage of healing and leveling up, you can work in that framework. That's now your next level. And the best thing about that is, again, it's just this sense of you push their energy back to them, you take back your energy, and then all of a sudden you feel like your holiday self, your best self. And it's so nice. It's so simple, like, and it's so nice to trust and validate that, heck yeah, all that work that I have been doing is so great. And if you're not in that place yet, where if you're still like at the beginning of your journey, do this too. This is a great practice, and this is going to help clear up everything so much quicker. But this is especially for people who have been on their journey a while and they've just got to this stuck place of no matter what I do, I just still am running in circles. And yeah, honey, that's because it's not you and you're absorbing other people. And I actually find this really interesting because now we know this dynamic is happening and we can create that space back and give their energy back. We have an incredible power to empathize with people because we literally feel in real time what they are feeling. And sometimes you can even, when you get more sensitive, or this is harder for me to recognize thoughts, I can better feel when I'm taking on someone else's feelings because it's like a sudden change. Thoughts are a bit more sneaky for me. But you can kind of literally think, like you will think what other people are thinking. It's like a form, kind of like, we're literally talking about telepathy here. I mean, how cool is that? I like just the wealth of knowledge and power that we have on this plane is just incredible, and that's why it's so exciting. And that telepathy, those kind of thoughts you pick up, is more, say you're having a present conversation with someone, you are actually present in the moment, your mind's not everywhere. And then you're midway through, you're listening, and then all of a sudden, like a quick thought will pop in your head and then jump out. And I've learnt that that's because that's someone else's thoughts. And interestingly, this came up because it was more of like a provocative thought when I was chatting with someone, and I was like, that's weird because I wasn't thinking that, or I didn't have that dynamic. And before I would have gone, oh shit, that's something hidden in me that I didn't know I had. But now I recognize, especially the fleeting nature of it, they had that thought and then it went. And it doesn't mean like that's what they're thinking or that's their intentions or anything. That's just literally a thought that you're picking up on from them. And I was just like, oh my God, this is crazy. So yeah, that's why things can be really, really confusing in this state, because you think and you take on everything as your own when it's really not. I did have notes about this. I've just kind of been riffing it, so I'm gonna check to see if there's anything that I've missed. Yeah, a good example of this, and I think this is how it kind of plays out in bigger ways. So the first time I came across this dynamic was with my parents. So I was in that really high vibe place when I was on holiday. I spent the first half of holiday with girlfriends, like in complete and more working off my own intuition. So I was just pure me and absolutely loving it. And then my parents were also in the country and I spent the second half with them. The second I saw my mum, something just was wrong. And she hadn't, like, we barely said hello. It's not anything she said, it's not anything she did. It was literally her embodiment. And again, my initial reaction was, it's my fault because I'm, seeing her has triggered this, has reminded me of all these memories and stuff and all the things I'm trying to work through with her, and I'm just projecting that onto her, and that's so unfair. And Talia, you're getting in the way of your relationship. All you have to do is just move out your own way, and like just all these things. And I was putting it back on me. But because I'd been in such high vibe for like the first half of the week, I was able to draw back on that and I was like, okay, forget my mum for a second. I'm going to tap back into that, bring it into the moment while I stand in front of my mum. And I tried to hold on to that. I did my best. And I realized that this dynamic was playing out that I hadn't otherwise seen because I was so swept up. I had a savior complex where my mum would pretty much play a bit helpless and then I would come in to rescue. And I knew I had this dynamic with other friends, but I didn't know where it came from. And with that dynamic also came a bit of a, my mom completely doesn't realize she has it, but there's a bit of a like a put me down technique. For example, like we were speaking to a news agent and like a tourist agent, we were booking something. My mum turns to me and asks me what time I want to do. I turn back and say, hey, let's do this time because then we can do X, Y, and Z. I didn't say it in any particular way, and I was in such high vibe at the time that I know I said it in like a really gentle and loving and present way. I know this. She turns to the news agent. I can feel something in her like closes up. She gets kind of like a bit nervous, turns to the news agent and goes, she's so bossy. I was literally thinking, like, you asked me the question. And my mum's also not, my mum likes it when other people take control. So actually I thought I was even helping her by saying I want to do this time because my mum doesn't like making decisions. So it's not as if I was treading on her toes and my mum immediately had an answer. And so yeah, there's kind of like this really subtle pick me, like bring me down technique. But all of her words and all of everything she says and the impression she creates is very much like I'm doing it all for you, I'm helping you, I'm encouraging you. So basically what was happening was in my head, I was going, well, my mum is encouraging me and loving me and she's doing the best she can, but my body is picking up in, this woman hasn't got your best interests at heart. And I don't, my mum is trying her best, but in terms of what I need and what I thought my mum could provide, that's not it. So there's a disconnect between my body and my mind, and we've got to start listening to what our body is picking up on. So if you have this duality, this dichotomy with people you're with, and you're like, but they're saying the right things, but I don't feel quite right. If you've got to a certain point in your journey, it is not you. I mean, if you are new to this, I don't want this to be a scapegoat for, oh, Talia says that it's not me, it's always someone else. There is certainly a point. You want to start with what's wrong with me. You want to clear all that up. But literally, if you keep digging, and you've been journaling and like thinking about these dynamics for months and months and months, potentially even years, like in my case, and nothing's shifting, try asking, is this even mine? Could this be a dual message I'm getting? Something from my head's trying to convince me of one thing because it thinks that's the safer way to think. Obviously, with your parents, you have to trick yourself into, but they're the safest, like they're your source of any kind of providing, which is why children in a lot of devastating childhoods still love and cling to their parents because they still got that attachment. That's their source of protection. No matter how bad it is, that's like their best chance. So we cling to our best chance. So my mind was eliciting that. But as you grow up, as you do more of your inner work and see healthier dynamics, there comes a time where you can let that go and you can trust your own self. Yeah, so I wrote down some signs, like maybe to help you. So I mentioned one already, where if you unplug from everything, you're doing a meditation, you're on your own, you're on holiday, and everything is better when you're alone. But as soon as you get into a certain dynamic with certain people, even if you just walk into a room with them, because that's all it took for me, and that's why I was so confused. I was like, Talia, you're being a bitch, because they haven't said anything, they haven't done anything, they technically got a smile on their face, and you're thinking all these horrible thoughts about them. You're picking up on their energy. You're picking up on the energy that was already in the room, and you're absorbing it, and you're taking it on as your own. This isn't good. Like, you can't take it on as your own because you're not going to fix it that way. You have to go, that's their problem, and I'm just going to love them for whatever they're holding. That's got nothing to do with me, and I'm protecting myself. I know now that that's their dynamic, so I can say with my mom, when we had that savior complex, I can go, I love her, I know she's just having a moment, and so I can just let it pass. I don't have to save her. I trust her, she can work it out. I'm actually robbing her of the chance to fix and grow the situation herself, and she did. And the other thing I learned was that my mum's stress is very different to my stress. So my mum would feel stress for the moment, and then about a minute later it would pass in her, and she would barely have any recollection of it. She'd barely remember it. She just kind of, yeah, whatever. For me, stress, I take it on and I wear it, and I will literally hold on to it for years because I have this feeling of I need to learn from it. I can't let it go unless I've learned from it. So I'm stepping in for my mum because I'm like, I really don't want her to burden that stress, and maybe if I am more capable, surely it's my responsibility that she doesn't have to feel that. But I was making an assumption about her experience of stress. For her, it was fleeting. It was just something in the moment. And I couldn't see that I worked differently. Like, for me, it was much deeper rooted. So that was also really important, that don't make assumptions that they're exhibiting the same signs of distress and maybe look as though they can't cope as well as you with it. But actually it lodges in their system, in their body, in a very different way to you. And you're there carrying the burden literally 3 years later, and they're like forgetting it 30 seconds after. So that was a big one. Excuse me. If you're feeling hazy, you're kind of feeling as though there's some wrong dynamic here, but you just can't put your finger on it. Again, that's the dynamic of you're soaking up their emotions, you're thinking it's yours, and then you're looking for the root problem. You're kind of like, well, why can't I heal this? I've healed loads of other stuff. That's because the root is with them. And you don't have to try and change them. You just go, oh, that's not mine. I put it back with you. I'm now resolving not to get involved. I'm not planning. I have no intention of getting involved. Giving back their energy, we talked about that. Just simply feeling into your body and going, is this mine? And I call back all my energy and I give back everyone else's energy. Not blaming or resenting or bullying them or yourself for these takings of energy. It's just, it happened accidentally, and moving forward we can start to be more intentional. Another sign is when you do things your way, you're happier, but also everyone else is happier. And I say this, I don't come from a dictator type friendship or relationship style. I'm more like, I will do what you want to do so you're happy. Maybe if you come from the other side where it's always your way, then maybe you have the opposite learning. But say, for example, again, when I went to Dubai, when I did things my pace, not only was I much better for it, but everyone else in my presence was a lot happier for it. So that's another clear sign, because you're probably, with all the work you're doing, you're probably consciously further ahead than a lot of other people. So you can take them through a much nicer and safer and feel good route. So literally just by doing what you're doing, give yourself permission to do what you want to do, because actually probably a lot of people would prefer that too. Whereas say, for example, if I go on holiday with my parents, my mum's regime is a lot more like, come on everyone, we've got to make the most of every day, get up really early, da 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 da. And like that's not usually the, at least my dad and I in particular, we're not natural, let's wake up early and go. And my brother's somewhere in between, I think. And so we're all ending up kind of like bombarded. But then when we try holidaying to my regime, and when I start to book flights and things like that, you get other people kind of saying, yeah, that makes a lot more sense doing it that way, and I felt a lot more relaxed. And yeah, so just giving yourself permission to change the dynamic, do things your way. And when you do that, things are better for everyone involved, then that's another clear sign that you can trust yourself. And times where you feel as though you're the problem, you're probably not. And yeah, again, like if you're on your own, and then just as soon as you get with other people, all of a sudden life just feels really, really draining. So yeah, this is all to say, like, you are now qualified. You are entering a new paradigm. You are now in that place of, you're no longer in a deficit. You've gotten yourself out of the hellhole. And now you're in that I get to thrive stage. And that comes with a sense of you now need to peel yourself away from negative energy and protect yourself from it. That doesn't mean running away from people. Like, my parents won't even really notice much of a shift. Like, they might notice a small change, but they're not going, oh my God, I now feel burdened and you're not doing this and you're not doing that. It's kind of like subtle changes in your energy that they probably don't even realize they're responding to, because they don't know how to work on that energy plane. So yeah, just give yourself permission to try it. It's no longer your problem. Hun, you have been doing some amazing work to get here. And if you're still just starting out on your journey, or this isn't for you, this isn't quite the place that you're concretely at, it's still just a good thing to learn and tap into, because that's going to make the rest of your healing a lot more clear. So yeah, it's a huge paradigm shift, and I love it because now things are going to be so much easier. That's not to say that all of the work before wasn't really fun, but as I said, I was working on that old paradigm for like 15 years. And there comes a time where you've just got to trust that the work you're doing has really paid off. And when you start seeing those signs, trust them. That's the universe telling you it's time to move on and do better things, because if you're still squashing yourself, you can't benefit the world. At the moment, you've been trying to focus on not being a drain. You've been trying to get yourself the way up to 0. And then now the universe is telling you, hey babe, you've been at 0 for a little time now. I need you to start letting go of all that and start contributing to the world. So yeah, I'm excited for you, because this is going to make things so much more smooth sailing. And as I say, it doesn't matter what point at your journey you are at, it's all going to be a lot more smooth sailing with this when you start to realize that there's a different level that exists, and you can pick up stuff from other people, and that's why things can be so confusing and muddly. And you get to work through that. You get to see clearly now what is yours, what isn't, what your mind is telling you versus what your body is telling you. And trust me, your body wins all the time, all day, every day. Might take a bit of practice to discern what is your head, what is your body, but keep trying to get yourself in high vibration places, take yourself on holiday, do all your practices. It's really important to take time away from people, whether that be, like your parents or loved ones. Just make it work. You have to get space in order to see this. You have to go away, get in a high vibration, and then come back to your old relationship and keep that high vibration. Otherwise, you're never going to see it. You're never going to see the issue, because I don't know, there's that famous quote, I can't remember who it's by, but it's, you can't solve a problem in the same level of consciousness as it's created. You can't answer a question in the same level of frequency or vibration or same level of consciousness that you're asking it. You have to, that's why usually when you go for a walk and you forget about it, your energy becomes a lot lighter, your vibration is lighter, your consciousness is lighter, and then the answer comes to you. The problem is on this level and the solution is always on this level. So you have to remove yourself to get to a place where you can level up your consciousness, even temporarily, and then put yourself back in the situation, and you can see clearly both your dynamic and their dynamic. And it is important, even though it's maybe coming from them, see how you're playing into it. So the savior complex example I gave, my mum may have been triggering it, but I was stepping in at any times that she was eliciting distress. I was immediately saving her. That was my part to play. But the part I had to realize is that it was my mum eliciting that. I wasn't putting it on her, she was putting it on me, and not absorbing all of the responsibility, acknowledging that other people are creating their own dynamics in their world as well. So I hope this helped. I love this one for myself, and I'm so excited for you guys to go out and try this, because it is life-changing, honestly. And I know that might sound a lot to a lot of people, like this whole other plane that we have to think about, but you're already acting on it, and just being aware of it is the first step. And we're all gonna figure this out. I just know we're all gonna level up. So I love this, and if you have any questions, pop it in a comment below, or if this was really helpful, I'd like to know what your favorite part was. Just anything, I would love to hear from you. And if this helped, give it a like so that other people, other women can see this too, and we can all grow together. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the next one.